2023, I got back into gaming proper. So, as you can imagine, that involved a certain amount of expenditure. I converted the shed here into a gaming room, a painting space, a filming space. Of course, I had to replace all my paints, which is still an ongoing thing. And as you may well know, if you've been watching the channel, I bought things like a 10mm Vampire Count Fantasy Army. I've bought a ton of 28mm figures, not to mention all the associated rule books and books for research and all the rest of it. So, you know, coming into 2024, I thought, well, I don't really need to buy anything. I'm going to have January, February, couple of months not spending any money on gaming. I've got loads of books to read. I've got loads of stuff to paint. I've got a stack of rule books this high. I really don't need anything else at the moment. So today on Dragon's Teeth, we're looking at my recent shopping acquisitions. Yep, so much for New Year's resolutions, eh? Anyway, before we get into my pecuniary extravagances, I just want to make two announcements. The first is that this coming weekend, February the 17th and 18th, we see the first ever Bedford Tabletop Expo. That's a 2-day event, and that's organised at the Bedford International Athletic Stadium on Barkers Road in Bedford. So that's basically 2 days of tabletop gaming, board games, RPGs, scale models, competitions, cosplay, a whole bunch of stuff going on. And it's organised by our friend Robin at Hobby Hive, who you'll have seen elsewhere on the channel, of course. I'm going to have a table there for 2 days. Bedford Gladiators are doing a demo game there, so I do hope you can get along. If you do, please come up and say hello. The second big announcement is that the date has now been set for the Innsmouth Literary Festival 2024. That's running on September the 28th. That's an all-day event. Our guest of honour this year is author Charles Stross. There's going to be other authors there. There's going to be panels, book signings, traders. We've got a games room. And not only that, in the evening, we have now also expanded Innsmouth After Dark. We're going to be downstairs at Esquire's, the main music venue in Bedford, and there we're going to have performances. There's going to be readings. We've got DJ Mendes doing a Discotheque Necronomicon set, and we've got live music from Byronic Sex and Exile. So that's going to be a great evening as well. So I'll put a link up to both those events in the notes below, and I hope to see you at least one of those. Okay, let's get into the spending. So really there's 3 places I've been spending money. One, of course, is at B&M stores, because I don't think I can do a video without mentioning B&M at all. So we'll just have a quick run through some of the stuff I've got from there recently. Then I've got some mail order terrain bits off of eBay. But the most I've got, the biggest spend, was some figures and some paints and some other bits and pieces from Callistra. As well as those things, I've also bought on PDF some card buildings. I think they were in 15mm scale, I'm not really sure, I can't remember. They're for my 10mm battles. And of course, as a PDF, I can shrink them down or blow them up in size in order to get the right scale for what I'm using them for. So I haven't printed those out yet. I'll probably do a separate piece on making card buildings for my 10mm battles. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's start with B&M. So at the moment, B&M are doing a large range of, I guess, what you call organisers. Well, they are called organisers. This one is a MIDI organiser tray, and I found this was just the right size to put my 10mm bases in. So these are my terrain features, ruined temples, and so on for our Fantastic Battles games. And each CD just fits nicely in there, and the height is just about right for the trees or whatever I've got in. So I can actually stack these as well. So that's the MIDI organizer. And then to move up in size, we've got the large organizer tray. So again, I can get one of my terrain CDs in there, and also my bridges and ford sections that I made previously. So again, these will fit a range of terrain items as well. And again, these are stackable. I would just take care though, if you do stack them, I'd put something across the top and stack, because if you put one inside the other, you see it actually sits down quite low. So for some terrain pieces that'll be all right, rivers or that sort of thing, but if you've got any sort of buildings or structures, then you probably want to put something flat across the top to put your other tray on. And that brings us to our 12 section jewellery organiser. As you can see, £3.50 here, still left a price on that one. And I'm using these to transport my 10mm vampire undead army. And as you can see, with the Fantastic Battles basin of 40x40mm, they fit in there perfectly. They've got a little bit of room to move around, but not much. And these do stack flush to the top. So what I do is my units where I have banners, I'll put those on top, and all the other units will stack underneath, because with their height nothing is protruding across that top edge there. And finally, from B&M, I bought this, I guess it's like a desk organiser or a pen organiser. They've got a few different versions of these. They've got one that rotates, which I also have. And this one at the moment, I've just put all my paintbrushes in with a view to sorting them out a bit better later on. So at least here, rather than hunting around the desk or under something for my brushes, I've got them all in one place. So that's B&M. Speaking of terrain, I do want to be making up some more Fantastic Battles terrain. So there's a couple of things with my rivers. I need some edges along the rivers, but also I thought I'd do some fields, maybe some roads as well, and that means hedges. So I had a look around and I got these, I think these were on eBay, Amazing Arts and Crafts green jumbo pipe cleaners, and there's 100 of those, and these were a few quid, so not very expensive at all. And I thought for 100, that gives me lots of scope to experiment and try different things. I have seen some people make trees from these as well, in 6mm I think, so that might be something I'll look at. And as you can see, totally bendable, wire in the middle, and if we just pop out a skeleton, for 10mm, these are a nice height just to represent hedges or maybe some other features as well. So I'm going to get into making a few fields, a few other bits and pieces, and I think these are going to get a lot of use. And now on to the main item. So a box of figures and some other bits and pieces. I think I did say these were from Callistra, but I don't know if Callistra is the brand of figures. The name of the company is Pendragon Miniatures, so I'll put a link up to them below, of course. And I think I've ordered some paints and some figures, starting off here with my fluorescent orange. You may remember I'm going to do this for the lava base for my 10mm ruined temple, so that will be used for that. And here's the terrain piece. So this is a small stone bridge in 10mm, and yeah, that's certainly what it is. It's nicely cast. The only thing I would say with the width of this, again, let's get my skeletons in. So not quite 40mm for the base. I mean, I can still use that because they can just sit on there. Most of the times they'll be across it in one move anyway. So it would be nice to have one a little bit wider, but nonetheless that's going to paint up very nicely and will make an attractive terrain feature. So I ordered up some Vallejo paints. As I said, I'm slowly going through and replacing all my old paints. The Tamiya ones are mostly sludge now, so I'm gradually replacing them as I need them. I know I could buy a big collection of paints. Army Painters do a couple of sets, but I'm just sort of replacing what I need at the moment again. I'm trying vainly to keep the spending down. So we've got some sort of greens and greys and a flesh colour there. I found Vallejo paints pretty good. I would say they're not quite as good as Army Painter, but you know, if I'm doing bases or big areas of coverage, then these will certainly do the job really well. Okay, that brings us on to our figures. So these are all 10mm figures, again, for my fantasy battles. And I thought, you know, I've got enough units and stuff like that now. What we're looking for, especially with our campaign being set up, are some creatures and beasties, because there's going to be the chance of random encounters both on and off the battlefield. So I thought we needed some figures to represent that. And here we have some 10mm bears. They're rather nice. We've got one standing up, we've got some on all fours. These could either be used as a unit, or I might base them singly or in pairs just to represent those monster encounters or creature encounters. Shouldn't really call bears monsters, should we? I'm sure they're lovely. Now, what we can definitely say are monsters are these little chaps, gargoyles. So we've got some nice gargoyle figures there in various poses. These are all metal figures, by the way. And for metal, they've got pretty good detail. I have to say that they're going to paint up nice. I don't think anything can beat those excellent miniatures prints. But these are nicely detailed. And look at that lovely, great big wings. So let me just put those down there. Yeah, we've got a nice wing spread on those. Is that the right way around? I think that's more like it. And no doubt I can probably bend those wings a little just to change the shape. So again, yeah, either as individual sort of temple guardians, or perhaps as a unit, some nice gargoyles to terrorize the players. And from there we'll move on to some more animals, this time 10mm rhinos. Because, you know, who doesn't like to see someone charged by rhinos? So 3 hefty beasts in there. And sometimes, even if these aren't used in the game as such, if we got a battle on the savannah or that kind of terrain, then, you know, they make nice little additions to the table. I think they give a little extra atmosphere. Next up, well, this is, I suppose, monsters meets animals. We have some giant scorpions, and they're a bit flat, but they do come with the extra towel. So the stinger, the important bit, that will glue on the back there. Again, you can't beat a giant scorpion for a temple guardian, can you? Very nice. And last but by no means least, we have a group of, I guess these are trolls. Actually, these really look like the Harryhausen creatures. Was it, I think, one of the Sinbad films with that horn in the middle of the head? So it might be ogres. Yeah, very Harryhausen look about them. I like that. I approve. And each of those is carrying a sort of club. Not much variation in pose on those. I think they're all... Oh, there's some slight differences. But again, that's an excellent wandering monster, either as an individual, or these, I'm sure, as a unit, could be pressed into service of some army or other. And then we've just got a nice thank you in there from Pendraken. There's their website. I'll put a link up to them below, of course. And these came very quickly. I think I had these within about 5 days of ordering. And there's another leaflet in here for, there's a show, Saturday the 2nd of March, Hammerhead at the Newark Showground. Painting competition, up to 60 historical fantasy and sci-fi games, and that's at the George Stevenson Exhibition Hall. Brought to you by Callistra with assistance from the Forest Outlaws. So I guess the Forest Outlaws are the local club, and Callistra obviously involved in the organisation of it. So, there we go. Another show to go to. Even more shopping to do. So there we are. As I said, so much for New Year's resolutions. That's my January, February shopping. I mean, it's not too bad, is it? I mean, B&M doesn't really count as war game shopping, does it? If I buy some cat food while I'm in there as well. And the nice thing with that Pendraken thing, that just came in a very small box. That was very easy to smuggle into the shed. So I'll be getting all these things painted up, of course, and I'll be putting up some videos on making terrain for the 10mm, getting those figures painted up and everything else. Keep an eye out for those. I just want to say a big thanks to all our new subscribers. We've had another new batch of subscribers in since Christmas. So welcome to the channel. Thanks very much for joining. and we're getting some really great comments coming in now as well, so do keep that up. As always, if you haven't already, please do like, share and subscribe. Hope to see you at the Tabletop Expo, and I hope to see you at least one of those Bedford events. Tabletop Expo coming this weekend, 17th and 18th of Feb, and September the 28th at the King's House Centre in Bedford, the Innsmouth Literary Festival. In the meantime, I think I might ask my wife to hide my credit card. Perhaps that's a good idea. See you soon.